This is dralvin.com, the business of wisdom where world leaders and thinkers do come to chat. Very happy to hear from one of the extraordinary authors of Psalm 91 for mothers, God's shield of protection for your children. I want to hear from Peggy Joyce Ruth. First of all, tell me about the ministry there that you and Jack have in your wonderful community there in Brownwood, Texas.
Yes. Well, my husband pastored. He was the head pastor of our church for 30 years, and so I was the pastor's wife, and I got to teach quite a bit on Wednesday nights, and my favorite thing to teach always was Psalm 91. And so we had a wonderful 30 years, and we've now turned the ministry over to the Dwayne Sheriff Ministry, and we still attend there and still, work in the kingdom. So it's been a fun adventure.
What has been the special place that Psalm 91 has had in your heart? When did you begin to discover the rich truths of that particular passage?
I was in so much fear when we first married. I was afraid something was going to happen to my children. I was afraid something would happen to my husband. I was to the point where I had already started getting some medical help because I was so fearful. And finally, one day, I just cried out to God. And I just said, God, there's got to be something to take this fear away from me. Can we, do we have to just wait and see what's going to happen and, see if we're going to end up with cancer or see if we're going to end up in a horrible car wreck? Or is there some way that we can pray and trust you and know that we can be protected? Well, I wasn't expecting an answer. I just was talking, out of my fear I was talking. And God gave me a dream and showed me Psalm 91 in that dream. And at first I just thought, can I believe this? Can I believe these promises in Psalm 91? And as I started putting it to work, and then later I started, my husband became a pastor after that, and I started teaching it, and then I started getting just testimonies from people all over who had put it to work, and it's been the most exciting walk that I could ever possibly put across. I don't know what I would have done without God giving me this wonderful promise.
Now, is today's book a part of a series? Was there a previous book? Because today's book is Psalm 91 for mothers. So has there been a previous book just plain Psalm 91?
Well, the first book was just a Psalm 91, God's Umbrella of Protection. And then all of a sudden we just really felt like I needed to write one for the military because my book, it tells all about Psalm 91. Chapter by chapter. Then the second half of the book is always just filled with testimonies. And so I did one for the military, just filled with military testimonies. And then I thought, oh my, I need one for little bitty children because as they, if they're taught this from the time they're born, practically, then it'll just be a part of them. So I did a Psalm 91 for toddlers, called my own Psalm 91 book. Then I decided, okay, we need one for teenagers, and we did one for teenagers. And we're in, and then I did the Psalm 91 for mothers. And so it's just kind of been an evolution. We one after another, and so that's made it really fun.
So how does Psalm 91 for mothers differ from the other ones?
Well, mainly I just aimed it at mothers, and I used mother and children testimonies. In other words, I changed out the testimonies, and I just had it filled with testimonies where mothers stood for their children, and a few cases where the children stood for their mothers. And but I'm certainly not leaving the men out. I've had almost more male readers because of the military. We've sent over 2 million of the military Psalm 91 books into the war zones. And, if God offers a shield of protection, we're just crazy not to put it to work. And so even the military in other countries, they're beginning to put it to work. We've put the books in Korea, in Philippines and Germany and Brazil and Mexico, and you cannot imagine what a comfort it is to women when they know that their husband is praying Psalm 91 over the entire family. When I have women write me, if their husbands are praying it and standing, oh my, that you just can't even imagine what it does for them. And, you know, some days you're going to need Psalm 91 more than other days, but a person needs to pray it in a thanksgiving prayer to God on those days when all's going well, so that we can keep our faith strong. And we need to remind ourselves, you know, of these promises every day, because that's what keeps us, you know, strong in our faith.
Well, let's look at some of the chapters in your book here. So, for example, when I go to chapter number 1, where is my dwelling place? Give me an idea of what I can glean and learn from that particular chapter there.
Okay, verses 1 and 2, that's our part of the covenant. We might as well not even read the rest of the psalm until we get verses 1 and 2 down, because that says that I'm going to choose to dwell in the shelter of the Most High. It's an invitation that God's giving to us, but it's strictly up to us whether we accept the invitation. It's sort of like salvation. You know, it's offered, but we have to accept it. We have to, make Jesus Lord of our life. Well, the same way with the Psalm 91 protection, we have to make a choice that we're going to dwell in His shelter. And I do this by every day. I probably haven't ever missed a day in all these many years since I got Psalm 91 when I was in my late 20s. And every day I go outside, if the weather permitting. If not, I find a place in the house, and I will pray this as a covenant prayer back to God, thanking Him, every step of the way that He has made this available to me, and that He is my protector. And then I just go right down the psalm, thanking Him that every evil known to man is covered in this psalm. And I go through those in verses 5 and 6, one by one, thanking Him, for that protection. And then He goes on to say that 1,000 will fall by my side, 10,000 at my right hand. And so I began to thank Him. Lord, thank You that I've been privileged to find this protection promise, and I began to thank Him and just praise Him and for that. And some days I just get so excited thanking Him and praising Him and naming off all these promises that He's made that I just don't even want it to stop. I just want to do that all day. And, the Bible has a lot of people that don't believe, the world has a lot of people that don't believe this. But in Romans 3:3, he says that if some do not believe, is this going to nullify the faithfulness of God? And he says, may it never be. That those that trust Him and believe, He'll be faithful. And then he goes right on then in verse 10 and tells us that it's going to cover our family, because we wouldn't be very happy just to have ourselves covered if He didn't take care of our family. And then verses 11 and 12, he tells us about the angelic protection that He's made available for us. And verse 13, he tells us about the authority that we've been given, where we can take authority over the enemy. And I call verses 14 through 16, I call those the 7 bonus promises for the person who truly loves Jesus. And he gives 7 more promises. But this verse 1 and 2 is so important, because the secret place, we have to find a place where we go and we come into the presence of the Lord, and we begin thanking Him for how much He loves us, thanking Him that He's provided this shelter, that He's, we're in the midst of a world that's just full of evil. But even in the middle of a world like we have, we can have this intimate, personal time with the Lord, this protection. It's like finding a secret place where the enemy can't find us, because we're hidden in Him. And then he says in verse 2 that we have to believe it in our heart and say it with our mouth. And so it's something that we actually have to say out loud. It's not automatic, just like salvation is not automatic. It's something that we reach out and accept by faith. Well, Psalm 91 is the same way, and that's how we do it in verses 1 and 2. And, oh my, it has absolutely, it turned my life around. It gave me the most wonderful life in the world. And I've just been so excited that I can share it with other people.
Well, you definitely have been doing that, and you have been blessing millions around the world. We're talking about Psalm 91 for mothers, God's shield of protection for your children. We listen to the extraordinary Peggy Joyce Ruth. This powerful interview will be featured at dralvin.com, the website, dralvin.com on Facebook, and also on Twitter at Dr. Alvin Jones. We discover wisdom one brilliant mind at a time. Before you go, tell us how to get a copy of this important book.
Yes, you can get it through Charisma, or you can call our website. I'm www.peggyjoyceruth.org, www.peggyjoyceruth.org, or Charisma Media, and they're beginning to get them in the different Bible bookstores. So I've been excited to see that they're coming out in the different stores. So, but anyway, either one of those other places, you can definitely find it.
Well, thank you so very much for you and your wonderful family sharing these truths, and you continue to have a remarkable and amazing day, okay?
Thank you so very much. I've enjoyed being on your show.